Muted.
Part of the marketing team here, and we are going to get started with our time management webinar. This training should be about 30 minutes, maybe 40 at the most, so we will just roll right through this. First, let's talk about our agenda. We're going to talk about the goals for our training, why time management is important, which is where we'll spend a good chunk of time, skills for better time management, and then finish with our contact information. So the goals for our training, I really want you to learn new ways to manage your time better, and I want to give you practical advice on how to do that. And I will give you advice through sharing best practices, but most importantly, I want to help you de-stress, because who wants to be stressed out when they come into work, right? I know that that's not very fun, so I really hope that this training is motivating to you and not, like, don't take this as, oh, you're doing everything bad. Like, I really hope that this is motivating and that this can help you de-stress. So those are our goals for the training. We are going to get started first by taking a poll. If you've never taken a poll before, I'm going to put one on the screen right now. And all you need to do is click one answer. There are 4 answers there. How are your time management skills? So just click how you feel best, because that's going to help me guide the training and help me understand where you guys are coming from. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to answer that. I would love participation from everyone, because I think to interact kind of breaks up the training a little bit. So most of you guys have given me your score, so I'm going to go ahead and close it and share the results. So most people said that your skills are pretty good, but they're not always great. And then the next chunk says, I need some help. So that's good to know. Yay for the people that says, I'm never stressed. So moving into the bulk of our training, why is time management important? I think that time management is essential for any profession, but especially for people who are on site in a profession of property management, because things are always changing, right? Things are always coming up that you have to manage. And on-site team members, from all the way from leasing agents to maintenance supervisors, should be practicing time management. This isn't just a training for managers. It's not just a training for leasing agents. I think every person on the site should be practicing better time management. Effective time management skills are inspiring to new Wasatch team members. Being a part of the training team, we get to interact with a lot of new hires, and I think one of the most common feedback that we get is that seeing your manager be able to do it all is really inspiring to them. A manager who's just complaining how busy they are isn't really as effective as someone who really instills the sense of confidence that you can learn from me, you can trust me, I can be a good example to you. So time management is very inspiring to new team members. It can also cost you money if you don't manage your time well. Poor scheduling can cause low staff coverage at really high work times, and then too much staff can cause too much coverage on slow times and can leave people feeling very bored. Also, it can increase your overtime costs, and it can burn out your employees. If you're not scheduling properly, and then all of a sudden you're at the peak of your day and you realize you don't have enough people, you don't want to be the person that's always calling all of your team members to come in and take extra shifts, because that's costing you overtime money as a manager, but it's also probably costing your leasing agents their free time when they thought that they weren't going to have to come into work today. So it's good to think about time management in relation to scheduling. If you manage your time well, you can get more prospects handled, which means you can get more move-in bonuses. So if you're a leasing agent, you probably want to be managing your time well, because then you can get the most move-in bonuses that you can possibly get, right? So that's a good way to manage your time. And then if you're looking for a next step in your career, good time skills probably are going to be more inspirational to your regional managers when they're thinking about who to promote than those who don't. So if you're looking to move up and you're trying to get a new promotion, you're trying to step up in your role, You want to have good time management, because if you can't manage your day right now, why would you be able to manage your day if you took on all these extra tasks, right? So we want to have good time management skills for a variety of reasons, but these are some really key important ways why we should manage our time. And I think most importantly, this is a quote that I heard from Brad, and I always love saying it. If you have to learn to manage your day and not let your day manage you. I think that is so true, because if you don't, it's just going to create all this stress. So we want to learn how to manage our day and not really let our tasks determine how stressed out we're going to be that day. So you might be saying, where do I start? How do I manage my time better? First, you should start with a fresh perspective and an open mind. Everyone has areas where they can manage their time more efficiently and more effectively. There's always room for improvement. So I know a few people said that their time management skills are perfect, but there's always areas for us to improve, right? First, you want to practice time management in everything. Oh, you guys are seeing the results page? Okay, hang on. Okay, can you see my screen now? Can you tell me in the chat box? Okay, perfect. So if you printed out the materials and you saw that last slide, but we will carry on with this slide. You want to practice time management in everything that you do, right? From the little things to the big things, because if you think that time management only affects your major, like the major tasks, then you're missing out on opportunities to practice this in ways that are kind of smaller and might not seem as important, but you're going to get better at managing your time if you start with the little things and then move your way up to the big ones. You also want to start managing your time by knowing your short-term and your long-term goals. If you don't know what your goals are, you're not going to be able to manage your schedule to affect those goals, because the point of managing your time, the point of all of our days really, is the goals that we have. And sometimes your goals come from your regional manager, sometimes your goals come from the HR team, sometimes your goals come from the marketing team. The goals can be filtered in from different areas, and then it's up to you to manage the time of when you're going to tackle whose goals. And sometimes the goals can seem like overwhelming at a time because they don't really all go together, but you want to see them as short term, what do I need to do today, versus long term, what do I need to do by the month end. That's helpful if you write them out, because then you can see, what can I accomplish today, what do I need to accomplish tomorrow. You want to create a daily plan to help you accomplish your goals. So you don't want to just write a list, this is what I have to do today, but really think practically, what do I need to do today and what can I actually accomplish today? What do I need to put off to tomorrow because I just can't get to that today? I mean, everyone is going to handle different amounts of a daily plan, right? Some people can accomplish 3 things, some people can do 8 things, some people can only do 1 thing. So write a plan and be practical in what you think you can accomplish that day. You want to prioritize the tasks in order of importance and urgency. It's also really helpful to write out how long you think that task will take. If you think that task is going to take you 5 hours to complete and you don't want to do it in 5 hours, maybe write it out at 1-hour chunks 5 days in a row, or write it in 1 5-hour chunk. I mean, you need to know how long it's going to take you. Sometimes the things seem like they're going to take forever and then they're actually super quick. So knowing how long you think it's going to take you is really important. You also want to think, is this short-term or long-term? If all you're doing is your long-term tasks and you're never working on short-term, or vice versa, then there's going to be too much of a spread. You're not going to get enough done of short-term. You're not going to get enough done of long-term. So you want to know how many of each length of time you're working on. You also want to know your coworkers' schedules, because if you know that you're going to have no one in the office with you for the rest of the week or for that entire day, you want to plan your schedule according to what you know you can handle. So if you're a property manager and you know, okay, my newsletter is due on the 15th, that's a Monday, and I know that Mondays I only have one person in the office, so I know I need to get that done on Friday because that's when I have two people in the office and I can have my leasing agent do that. You need to know your coworker schedules, right? Especially if you're a property manager, you need to know when your people are coming in and what their shifts are going to be. So that way you don't have to use a lot of overtime when it's really unnecessary if you just schedule a little bit better. Also, you should tell someone about your goals so that you can be held accountable. If you're a leasing agent, you want to tell your direct supervisor, whether that's your financial manager, another leasing agent, or your property manager. If you are mentoring someone as like you're teaching them the job skills checklist and you know that you have to get that done in 30 days, tell someone about your goals. Like, I have to get this done by the end of the week because this is due. I need to work on this week. When you tell other people the things you have to accomplish, you can plan your schedules accordingly much better. So whether that's telling your regional manager, your property manager, telling the marketing and training team, telling your other leasing agents, tell them about the things that you have going on this week so that way you can plan your schedules better. And sometimes it's helpful to tell people when you think you're going to get something done. Because I know that we send out a lot of emails, a lot of follow-up emails on when things are overdue. Sometimes it would just be helpful if I kind of knew what your schedules were. Like, I can't get this done today, but I can get this done on Fridays. Like, just tell people when you plan on managing that task. So it's good to tell someone else about your goals. So getting very practical, how do I prioritize my goals? The only thing that you really need to think about is it time sensitive? So if it is time sensitive, then what impact does it have on your goals? Again, the goal can be short term or long term. The priority will affect if it's urgent and if it's important. So let's go through some examples. First is you have to review your budget report, but that's not due until next week. So you knew that it was important to review your budget goals, but you don't have to do that until next week. You don't have to make any decisions until next week. So this task becomes important, but it's not necessarily urgent. Next, someone, let's say a resident calls you and tells you that they left their iron on. So if you get a call from a resident and they kind of have an issue going on, this task becomes urgent but not necessarily important because turning off her iron doesn't affect your goals, but it might affect your maintenance goals. If your maintenance goals are to keep the property running and the maintenance goals are to keep the property looking nice, that might be one of their goals, and this might be a task that you would want to pass off to your maintenance so that way they can handle it urgently. Or let's say that you have an expense report and that report is due today. It's probably going to be both urgent and important because the expense report directly affects your goals. And this was something that you knew about a while ago, but you just kept putting it off. And now your regional is coming in to talk about it today, and it becomes urgent and important because you need to do that right now. So your priorities will follow the order of urgency and important. So you might want to do that last one first, the expense report, because it's a meeting that you specifically are having with your regional, so only you can handle that. But the iron, that's important too, that's urgent. But maybe that's something that can be handled by someone else who's a little bit, maybe they're not as pressed for time as you are because you really need to do that expense report. So it's okay if things become urgent, like there's multiple things, but you can pass the tasks off to different people. We'll talk about delegating in the next slide. So if your task becomes urgent and important, it should be at the top of your daily list. That makes sense, right? While other things still need to get done, they could be handled after you've completed the urgent and important tasks. So if you forget to do an important task that maybe wasn't urgent before, it's going to become urgent. So you don't want to put off all of the tasks that don't seem urgent because they will become urgent at some point. You don't want to make all of your daily lists just based off of what's urgent on that day. You want to plan things on your monthly list so that way you can take those tasks and put them onto your daily list. Things that come to mind, newsletters, Wasatch University classes, if you need new property photos, if you need to order supplies, all of those things are urgent, or they're important, but they might not be urgent the day of. So you can plan them on your monthly list and then take those tasks and put them onto your daily list at a later point. This is an example of a plan, like a daily plan that might look kind of similar to what your plans look like. So first we're going to look at the 9 o'clock line. And we are inspecting a few units for move-in. This task is important and urgent. And I think you you get that. I mean, this is directly affecting your goals. Your goals are to increase occupancy. Your goals are to get people to live in your apartments. And it becomes important and urgent because you already have people lined up to move into them. So that one kind of makes sense. You know that that's important and urgent. Next, we have to sign a lease with someone. That task is also important and urgent because that directly affects our bottom line. And it needs to be done today because we already have an appointment with that person. So when you have two tasks that are important and urgent, you need to plan them with enough time to get them both done. I think that makes sense. So next, what if you need to check your Kool-Aid stand? That's not important and not necessarily urgent, but it's still something that needs to get done. But maybe we can give that to someone else, or maybe we can just not spend a ton of time doing that task because we know it doesn't necessarily affect our goals, and it's not necessarily urgent, but we do it just because it keeps the property looking nice. And then last on the bottom, this is talking about writing a monthly plan. This is something that's probably important, whether it's your regional requiring it, the training team requiring it, but it's not necessarily urgent because you know that your plans are only due once a quarter. So you don't need to work on it throughout the entire quarter. You can just work on it, when it's closer to being due. So that's important, but it's not necessarily urgent. And you can plan those tasks throughout your schedules when it makes sense, like when it fits into your plans. I wouldn't necessarily put that at the top because we have two important and urgent tasks already at the top of our morning. So let's push that task down to the afternoon. We're going to do one more poll. We're going to talk about roadblocks. So we're going to put a roadblock up, or a poll. So again, just select the answer that makes the most sense to you. We're talking about roadblocks in the sense of this gets in the way from me managing my time. I could manage my time better if I didn't have this roadblock, if I didn't think that I could do it all, if I just had less incoming requests from residents, if I could just understand who does what better in the office, or if I just didn't have so much foot traffic coming in, I could manage my time better. We're going to give it a few more seconds. It's actually coming in very fast and kind of a surprising amount. Oh, it's changing. Okay, a few more seconds. Everyone poll in. And I'm going to close it right now and show you the results. So kind of the overwhelming majority is that you want to do it all. And I think I fit into that also. We'll talk about delegating to help overcome that. But then tied is foot traffic and incoming requests from residents, which that makes sense. If you're confused on who does what in the office, you might be a leasing agent. If you're a property manager, that's probably something to talk to your regional about. So I will hide this, so hopefully you can see my screen again. Let's talk about how to overcome those roadblocks. First, if you have a hard time anticipating traffic and other visitors, maybe you have so much foot traffic you just don't know what to do about that, look at the history of the traffic. Look at what happened yesterday, what happened last month, to figure out when are your slow times of the day, because this is the time that you want to do your really important and urgent projects. So if you know that I'm really slow right when we open and I get pretty slow right when we close, you want to put your tasks onto those time slots. If you know that lunchtime is always super crazy and everyone always walks in, maybe give yourself an open schedule and don't plan anything during that time, and instead plan all of your tasks either in the morning or in the evening. I mean, whatever is slow for your property, look at the history to figure that out. If you have a lot of vendors and service providers that walk in all the time, schedule those people especially during your non-peak hours, because those, I mean, the vendors are there to serve us. So if we don't give them a time slot, they're going to come in whenever it's convenient for them. So if you say, I always have the vending machine guy come in and refill our sodas whenever he wants to walk in, no, call him and say, can you come in at 9 o'clock from now on every other Tuesday? So that way you know when he's going to come in and you can anticipate when that traffic is going to pick up. Also, you might want to schedule lunches and stick to it, because I think lunches are the easiest thing for us to just think, oh, we'll just push it off. We'll push it off another 15 minutes, and then everyone's lunch gets pushed off. And then we run into a lot of missed punch forms and sometimes overtime hours and not taking our lunch by the 5th hour. So anticipate your traffic and plan your lunches according to when you think it's going to be slow, and then just stick to it. Even if it seems hectic in the moment, just stick to your lunch schedule and take them at that time. Next, assigning time slots could help you if you don't really know who should do what in the office. A lot of the offices have more than one person. Even if you just have two, maybe think about having like 2 different roles. One of the roles can be guest duty, whether that's touring, answering the phones, entering maintenance requests. And then you can have one role that's sort of an off-duty role, and then this person can take their university classes, they can look at the web audit, they can post a roof. And then you want to switch roles, so that way someone doesn't get burnt out by doing all of the guests and then or all of their classes in one day. So you want to switch off roles. And if you don't have any classes due and you've already done your web audit, these can be shorter time slots. But they should be, I mean, maybe you want to do it in half the day. It really just depends on your schedule. To me, it makes sense to have half the day one person does guest duty, the other half of the day they do the off-duty role, but you can adjust that to your own schedule. If you have more than 2 people in the office, I think the 3rd role should be the overflow for the guest duty. I wouldn't have more than one person taking their university classes, because that might be kind of I just wouldn't think that that's managing your time very well. So have the 3rd role be the guest duty overflow role. This is something that I learned straight from one of our regional managers, and I thought it was genius. So if you want to if you need some help with kind of creating these 2 roles, I would talk to your regional. Next, if you have too much incoming resident requests, remind them to do everything electronically. So if you are constantly answering the phone and entering in a maintenance request, remind them that they can do that online, that they can pay their rent online, especially if you have maintenance team members that are walking around and they're getting a bunch of requests while they're walking outside. Remind them to tell the residents that they need to do everything online or through the leasing office, because then we can actually schedule it and make sure that it gets done. If they're taking requests while they're, out doing another service request, then we're never going to be able to schedule that, and then that's when we get the angry residents who say that we never got their requests done. You want to make sure that you're taking everything electronically if you can. And then finally, delegation. If you are a supervisor, know that you are hired to be a supervisor because you had a special set of skills and talents that you can utilize. And even though you can do everything, because you might have started off as a leasing agent or you might have started off as financial, even though you can do their jobs, it would be much better handled by that person who was hired to be your financial or who was hired to be your leasing agent. Because if you don't do the job that you were hired for as a manager and you just try and do it all, you're never going to get everything done and not get it done to the best of your ability. Also, by giving the staff who's below you an opportunity to step up and take on new responsibilities, you're going to give them the opportunity to learn new things and maybe let them be promoted because you've trained them well enough and you've given them enough opportunities to take on new responsibilities that then they could grow and be in the next role. when you're choosing someone to delegate your tasks to, you want to choose the right person. Get to know your staff on a more personal level who can handle this. If you know that one of your leasing agents is really, really good at interacting with customers and you don't want to take them off of the phones, don't take them off the phones. Give it to someone who is very organized. Give the task to someone who can manage their time efficiently. So choosing the right person is the best step. It's the first step in delegating. Then you want to give really clear instructions. You can't set someone up for failure, right? If we're giving a new task to someone, they've never done it before, we need to be very clear in the expectations that we have. This is when we expect it to be done. This is to the level of quality that we expect it to be done. So give clear instructions, and then, of course, be available for questions because they're probably going to have questions and be confused in the beginning. And then finally, check in regularly. If you gave the expectation that this should be done by end of day Tuesday and it's 5 minutes till the end of day and they haven't done it yet, check in and see what's going on, how can I help you. Don't take the task back, even though you're probably going to want to. Don't take it back from them, but just check in and say, what do we need to do to get this turned in today? Because I really need this done by the end of the day. If they can't get it done by the end of the day, what can we do to get it turned in first thing tomorrow morning? I think checking in is a step that's overlooked, and instead we just pass it off to someone, and then when your regional follows up with you, why isn't this done? It's because we didn't check in with who we gave the task to. So those are the steps in learning to delegate. If you are a leasing agent or a financial on this call right now and someone delegates something to you, take ownership of that, take responsibility, and own it. If someone's giving you the opportunity to learn something new, do it to the best of your ability. Don't just kind of shrug it off and say, well, it's not that important because, you know, this isn't really my goal. This doesn't really affect me, but I'm just doing it because she's making me do it. No, take ownership of that and realize that this is an opportunity that you can impress your property manager so much by that when they are thinking who's going to be our new financial manager, because our financial manager has moved on to manage a property, they might think of you when that opportunity comes up, you know? So if you're given tasks you're being delegated to, own that and shine in that role. I think that it's scary to delegate to people because you might kind of lose that trust of, well, I thought I could give it to you and that you could handle it, and then you didn't handle it well enough. So own that. If you're being delegated to, own the role. We're wrapping up here. This is our last slide. The immediate actions that you could take after this webinar would be to create a list of your short-term and long-term goals. This goes back to the very first thing. You can't really plan your day if you don't know what goals you're trying to accomplish. That might need to be a conversation that you have with your supervisor if you don't know what your goals should be. You want to talk to the person, you know, who you work directly for so that you can understand how to manage your day better by knowing what your goals are. Next, I think you should create a daily plan, whether this is as simple as going out and buying a planner and writing the things that you need to do that day, or printing a calendar off of Google and writing it on the calendar. I think that you should create a daily plan. You probably already do, but do it intentionally. Write out everything that you think you need to do that day, and then give it a time. Like, I think I need to have this done by 10 a.m. So I need to work on this from 9:30 to 10 a.m. I cannot be interrupted from that time. Or I think I need to have 2 hours to complete this task. So I'm going to give myself from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. to complete this. And I will probably need to review it tomorrow. So I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to review it tomorrow before I send it off. So create a plan and be intentional with how long you think it's going to take you to do things. Because you're not going to be able to plan your time efficiently if you don't anticipate how long it's going to take you to do things. Then I think you should create a monthly plan, because when you're trying to figure out what your daily plan should be, you're going to want an overview of the entire month that you need to work on. So whether that's looking at, if you're a mentor and you have a job and you have a new hire and you need to work on a job skills checklist with them, looking at the tasks that need to be done for the next month, looking at the training calendar and seeing what training is coming to your region, when are deadlines, when do I need to attend things, looking at your university for an entire month, look at what is happening in a long-term range so that way you can plan your day/week kind of according to when you think the month is going to require. And then, because we love Wobbucks in marketing, if you email Marketing Today with your daily plan for tomorrow, you can win 10 Wobbucks. I'm going to select one winner. I'm going to look at them with the eye of how practical is it? Did you write out everything? Are there timestamps associated with it? How practical is this plan? I will award the winner 10 Wobbucks. I will email you the winners for those tomorrow. And then if you haven't yet written your marketing plan, this is a great opportunity because you could win 25 Wobbucks if you turn in your marketing plans. Those were due last night, in case you were wondering. But really think about how can I practically manage my time to finish my marketing plan and finish it well, not just writing a bunch of things because I need to have it done. But marketing plans are a great way for you to look at a quarter at a time. We talk about looking at a month at a time, but the marketing plans are designed to look at an entire quarter for 3 months to help you figure out what areas do I have to improve in, what areas am I doing really well. So write a marketing plan. If you're below 97% occupancy, write a marketing plan so that way when it comes to be mid-June and you're freaking out because you have 25 units to rent, you can look back to your plan and remember, oh yeah, we had this idea and we never did it. Or, oh yeah, we said that we were going to do that and we never really followed through on it. So the marketing plans are a great resource for that kind of crisis time that comes. So give it a few, maybe a few hours. It might take you 2 hours to write a marketing plan. You might need to talk to your regional about areas that you have for improvement. But if you write a marketing plan and turn it in, we are going to select some winners of the best plans, and you can win 25 Wobbucks. Right now I have 18 marketing plans, so you've got some competition, but I think that you can do it. This wraps up our webinar. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you found it inspirational and really practical and motivational. Again, if you did not write the names of everyone who attended from your property, please do that right now in the university so that I can give you credit in the university. Please write your name in the chat box. You guys are free to leave. Remember, turn in your marketing plans and turn in your daily plans for a chance to win Wobbucks. You guys are free to leave. Thank you for being here. If you have any additional questions, you can write them in the chat box now.